Dean of Undergraduate Studies here at the David Eccles School of Business. We've still got a few people joining us, so we will be welcoming people as they dial in. This is our second webinar that we've done over the summer, and the purpose of these webinars, first of all, we're very, very excited to welcome students on campus again. We started these last summer because there was just a lot of things going on as people were getting ready to come onto campus, a lot of questions that returning students and new students have. And so we felt like it was a best practice that we wanted to continue. So I'm just going to take a couple of minutes and I'm going to give you an overview of what's going on for the fall, what to expect. And then last webinar, we had a lot of questions around housing. And so I've invited Rachel Aho from our housing department. You probably don't call yourselves a department, but our housing group. They've been very, very busy this summer. And so she's here to answer questions as well. And then I will let her give an update after I give a quick update, and then we will take your questions. There are some questions I know that some people emailed in. So we've got a few people who have been collecting those for us. The best way for us to do the Q&A so that everybody gets an opportunity to ask questions is through the Q&A function in the webinar. So if you look, for most people, I think it's on the bottom of the screen. Depending on how you have your screen set up, it might be on the side, but there's a little button there that says Q&A. You can click into that and type in your question, and that'll give us an opportunity to see the questions. And if several people have the same question, we can kind of aggregate those and answer them that way. There's also the chat feature that you have as well. We'll be posting links in the chat. If there's a question that you have that has a certain page that you can go look at, we will connect that into the chat. So be monitoring both the chat and the Q&A. And that way we can make sure that we get an opportunity to answer all of your questions. In addition, we are recording this and we will post it on our website. And then we always draw from these and put them in our frequently asked questions page. And the website is eccles.utah.edu. And if you're a business student, that's a great place to get used to just looking, because we announce all of the things that we've got going on week to week there, ways to get involved with Blink or with other places or other activities that we've got going on campus. And so Sheena, you can see in the chat, has just given you a link to the eccles.utah.edu, but there will be on that page, there's a frequently asked questions section, and we just capture all the questions we're hearing from students so that other students can log on and see if their question is there. Hopefully that will help you. And I know we already have a couple of questions, but what I wanted to do is first just tell you about what we're expecting for fall. So we are just a little over a month away, and very, very excited to have students coming back in person in the fall. We have gone through all but 4 of the orientations, and so there's a lot of excitement and engagement. And so we are expecting this fall to feel a lot different than last fall. And so the way you should expect from a pandemic or a COVID standpoint, we have the best health system in the state right here on our campus. And so we have some of the very best information and facilities available. So when you come on campus, there's going to be vaccines available. There's COVID testing available. We've got a great student health system that has a drop-in clinic in the union. So lots of really great resources to help everybody. What you will see on campus is we, based on The state legislature, we are state building, so we do not require masks, but we invite anybody who's uncomfortable to wear a mask. And so we're respectful of how you want to manage things for yourself through the pandemic, but we will not be requiring masks on campus. In addition, we will not be recording all of the classes like in the past. We did a lot of Zoom. So when you signed up for your classes, you either signed up for an in-person class, an IVC class, which is a Zoom that happens at a particular time or a particular schedule, or you signed up for an online class, which is accessible to you at your, during the week when you have time. You have assignments every week, but those are the basic 3 types of classes. About 75 to 80% of the classes on campus this fall will be in-person classes. There isn't going to be social distancing, and so the class sizes will be what you would expect class sizes to be. And we are asking everybody to make sure that they take advantage of the resources available if you're not feeling well, or if you want to wear a mask, or if you want to get a test, all of that's available. And so you'll be managing your own comfort level when it comes to the pandemic this year. But feel free to reach out to the resources on campus if you have any questions about anything. So things we'll have in-person. Football is back in person in full capacity. There was just a concert on Saturday night in the Rice Eccles Stadium, the new one, because we've undergone a renovation, that had 50,000 people there. And so things are really feeling much more back to normal. Housing's been something this summer that's been very busy. And so I want to give Rachel an opportunity to kind of give you an update on housing, and then I'll start looking through the questions. And so Rachel, if you're comfortable with it, I'll start communicating the housing questions after you do your update, and then we'll get through the housing questions and then transition over to just general questions, which I can take and you can get on with your busy day. So I welcome Rachel, and thanks for being here.
Yeah, thank you for including me and inviting me to be a part of today's call. We are equally excited to return to campus and to have many of you living with us on campus for this upcoming fall. Move-in day and move-in days, I should say, are right around the corner, August 17th, 18th, and 19th this year. So those are spread over 3 days. If you are living with us on campus, I would encourage you to check out our move-in website, and I will throw the link for that in the chat, as you'll find your assigned move-in date and time, as well as our move-in guide on that website. So make sure to check out that website. All of our move-in check-ins will take place at the Union this year. So when you arrive to check in for campus, you will head to the Union. You will receive a COVID test. So all students who are living with us on campus in HRE facilities are required to take a COVID test. We will also have vaccines available. So if you would like to receive your COVID vaccine at move-in and you haven't done that yet, you would be able to do that if you would like. Vaccines are not required for students living on campus, but they are strongly encouraged. And so we would encourage you to receive that vaccination and take care of that prior to move-in. But if you'd like to take care of that upon your arrival, you're also welcome to do that right on site. After you check in, you'll be able to head right to your building, get settled in, and then begin enjoying a lot of our move-in events and opportunities for engagement. We also are aware that this year we've seen incredible housing demand. And so some of you may still be on our housing wait list at this point. If you're on our housing wait list, I would encourage you to do 2 things. One, if you would like to remain on our wait list, I would encourage you, if you haven't already, to send us a confirmation email today. letting us know. So today is the deadline to let us know if you'd like to remain on our housing wait list for the fall. Housing at the University of Utah is not guaranteed, and so we're working as quickly as possible to house as many students as we can off of that wait list. At the same time, given the size of our wait list, we don't anticipate being able to house everybody prior to move-in. And so the second thing I would encourage you to do if you're on our wait list is to explore off-campus housing options. I'm going to throw another link into the chat as well, which is our off-campus housing website. This is one resource to start with in exploring off-campus housing options. If you're still looking to secure housing, there are many resources across the Salt Lake Valley, though, in searching for apartments and looking at properties. And so I'd encourage you to use this as a jumping off point, but also to explore some of those apartment resources, Zillow, KSL, apartments.com. There's a variety of sites where you can find those apartment properties or other properties that are available to seek out in the surrounding area. So those are the two things I would suggest that you do if you are remaining on our wait list. The last thing that I would mention in preparing for the fall is to begin thinking about engagement opportunities. So if you are living with us on campus, I would highly encourage you to think about how to get involved, whether that's through our Residence Hall Association, seeking out employment opportunities as a desk assistant, which is a great opportunity, a housing ambassador, being able to speak to the housing experience and help give tours to others, as well as a range of other leadership opportunities. We have great ways to get involved in Lasan Studios that are available to all students in Collard Village, in our living learning communities. And so begin exploring those opportunities on our website as well. With that, I'll pause there and I'm happy to answer any housing specific questions that have come in.
Okay, great. Thank you, Rachel. We have a question. My move-in date is the 19th, but if I need to move in a day or two earlier, do I need to pay for early move-in?
Great question. So if you do have a need to move in early, we do offer early arrivals beginning August 13th. August 13th is the very earliest that you can move in to your fall hall. You will need to request that by tomorrow. So tomorrow is the deadline to request an early arrival date. For each date leading up to August 17th, the cost for early arrival is $40 per day. And you are approved for an early arrival if you're arriving on campus for a university-related reason. So if you need to come for debate club or for practice, if you're involved in athletics, or if you have an on-campus job and you have training, those are all great reasons why you might need to arrive early. And so you can email us at info@housing.utah.edu to request that. And again, the deadline to request an early arrival is tomorrow.
Okay, thank you, Rachel. One other resource, the business school has a Qualtrics link that I've just put in the panelist, or sorry, in the chat. And this is if you are wondering what to do for roommates, or you might want to get a group together to find an off-campus housing. And so this is just a Qualtrics survey that you'll fill out. And then depending on how you answer it, some of the outcomes are that we can put you in a group me with other students who are looking for off-campus housing and want to be connected to business, other business students or other business scholars. And so this is just something that we found might be helpful if you're coming from out of state, don't know a lot of people. I know Housing also did an event a couple weeks ago to help introduce people to potential roommates. And so if you participated in that, you don't necessarily need to do both, but we just wanted to make sure that everybody who's scrambling to figure out what they're going to do for housing, that we're supporting you in that. And so this survey is going to ask a few questions, and then it's going to gather your contact information, and then we're going to reach out to you and help you any way that we can within the Eccles School as well. So that is in the chat right now. Okay, just a reminder, questions. If you have any questions, please type them in. Those were all the housing questions that we currently have. Rachel, if you wouldn't mind sticking on for just a couple more minutes in case others come up, I'll answer some of the other questions that have popped up, but that'll give people a chance if they just have a question based on something that you just said. So one of the questions that we got here is about classes moving back to online. So if cases continue to go up, will classes move back online? That is asking me to look on my crystal ball and tell you what's going to happen in the future, which is a little difficult to do. But what I can tell you is some of the ways that we're thinking about things right now. So I was just in a meeting last week with the deans across campus. And we kind of discussed a lot of things leading up to how things are going to be managed on campus. And one thing that's different now than was happening a year ago is that there is a vaccine available that people can choose to take that protects them based on the science. And our current interim president is also the CEO of Utah Health, and he's a physician. And so, you know, they look at the science to kind of help with everything. And so the science is saying that it protects, it may not eliminate getting passed through COVID if you're vaccinated, but it protects extreme reactions to that. And so there is a vaccine available, which then allows people to make choices. And last year at this time, there wasn't. And that's why things moved online, because they needed to, it was new, they needed to figure out what was going on. The Delta variant is aggressive in a lot of states. It has been aggressive in Utah. We're not anywhere near the case counts that we were in the fall, but I will tell you that things are different. And so, depending on what happens, if from a science standpoint, there is an ability to provide an opportunity for people to protect themselves, then the university will do that. And if something changes and so we need to go online for some reason, we will absolutely communicate and be transparent about what caused that and why that is. The Utah State Legislature is the one that makes, I mean, we are a public institution, so the state is where that decision gets made, not people on campus. And so we'll watch that, but I do feel like things are quite a bit different this year, you know, going into this year than they were a year ago when we were still developing vaccines and trying to figure out what was happening with the pandemic. So hopefully that answers your question. I have another question about what PC to buy. Okay, here's a housing question before I get to the PC question. If I decide to live off campus as a freshman, will there still be events for me to attend on campus? So I will answer from a business school standpoint, and then I will let Rachel answer from a campus-wide standpoint. The answer from a business school standpoint is absolutely. There are lots of activities we have at the Eccles School of Business. In addition, there are lots of activities that happen on campus, there's clubs that you can join. Lane, all of those are available to all students. The Student Life Center on campus is available to all students, no matter where you live. So there's lots of ways to still get involved. You can actually even go and eat in many of the restaurants that are in the housing. Those are available to people on campus to walk in and eat there as well. Rachel, anything to add to that?
I would echo all of that and let you know that our residential happenings in the lobby of Lasan Studios and Cohort Village are also open to all students on campus, whether or not you live in those buildings or those areas. And so if you want to get involved with the Benyon Center and community engagement, you want to get involved with Lasan Studios programming, you want to get involved in health and wellness initiatives on campus, all of those are open to students and those resources are available to you, whether or not you live on campus.
Okay, great. And Rachel, do you want to just answer verbally what you answered in the chat so everybody can hear, and so the video that we're posting can see what's been answered in the chat?
Absolutely. So we've been getting some questions in the chat about what is the deadline to remain on the wait list for housing, and whether or not we will update our wait list numbers after that deadline. So to answer that verbally, the deadline to remain on the wait list and confirm that you would like to remain on the wait list is today. You should email us at info@housing.utah.edu if you'd like to remain on the wait list. It's important for me to mention that if you remain on the wait list, that is not a guarantee that you will receive a spot on housing prior to move-in. It is a guarantee that we'll continue to keep your name on that list, and as spots become available all the way up until move-in and even throughout the fall semester, that we will offer you the first available room once a room does become available.
And Rachel, maybe talk a little bit about the process of the wait list. Somebody has to drop for something to open up. So do you want to talk through kind of your experience of what happens throughout the fall semester and what kind of movement to maybe expect, knowing that it's not the same every year?
Yeah, absolutely. So you're absolutely right in that currently the way that we would be able to offer a spot off of our wait list to a student is due to another student canceling or leaving their current spot. So all of our current housing rooms on campus at this point are full. And so as someone's plans change, let's say they decide they want to live at home, they want to live off campus, they're studying abroad, they're no longer attending the U, those students let us know. And then as soon as they let us know, we offer a spot to the next student on our wait list. If you're looking for a general sense of where you're at on the wait list, you can find those updates posted weekly on our wait list website. After today's deadline, anyone who did not confirm that they would like to remain on that wait list will be removed from the wait list. And so you'll see those updated numbers posted on our website very shortly after we do that final cleanup after today's deadline. I anticipate we'll post those new numbers by the end of this week at the latest. So that will be a good indicator for you. We have done our absolute best to add as many possible housing spots to our current on-campus buildings as possible. We've even created a community of 84 students in our university guest house for this upcoming fall semester. And so we are doing our absolute best to try and house as many students as possible on campus. Unfortunately, we are just seeing a very high demand this year in coming to the U, coming back to the U, and wanting to have that on-campus experience.
So Rachel, how do students verify they're on the wait list? You can't put yourself on the wait list now or past that deadline, but how can they make sure they're on the wait list?
Sure, great question. So you can do that one of two ways. One is that you can log into your Housing U account through CIS, and you'll see that you've joined the wait list on your Housing U account. you can also contact our office 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. Monday through Friday, either by email or by giving us a call, and we'd be happy to confirm that for you.
Okay, thanks, Rachel. And then there was another question: if you can't find housing, how does one attend class being out of state? We do have off-campus housing options, and there's a lot of different places to look for those. I put the Qualtrics link in the chat. Click into that and give us your information and we'll contact you. There are places that we know about, and they have various roommate configurations, so we can help you find a roommate. We can put you in a group chat with other people that are looking, and then we've got options depending on what you're looking for. You can let us know in that survey, or just at very least what that survey does is gives us your contact information so we can reach out and help you with that. So we don't want anybody who wants to be here to feel like they can't come and join and take classes because of housing. We've done some extra legwork, and Rachel and the housing team has the website. They've been working with off-campus housing. So there is housing available. It's maybe not exactly what you were looking for, but we can walk you through and tell you what the options are and help you find something. Okay, perfect. Let me look again. Do you know the food, when food opens up, Rachel? There are food options available across campus. Some of them have been closed because we've been doing online classes for summer semester, but I believe everything opens up the week before school starts. But Rachel, do you have updated info on that?
Yeah, there will be limited options that are available even now on campus that students can eat at. But the main opening day for most of our dining facilities will be August 17th.
Okay, perfect. Okay. Okay, so message about reaching out to some potential roommates. None have responded. What do I do? Fill out the Qualtrics form. That form gives a live person from the business school, because you're all business students. So a live person from the business school will reach out to you and then help facilitate conversation. So if there's a lot of people that sign up for that, we'll make sure that all of those folks can talk to each other and connect to help you find a roommate. Housing has done a fabulous job with that. And we're just trying to kind of, if you're getting a little bit nervous about it, we know students, we know who's in business scholars, we know who's coming into the business school. And so this is just kind of another way that you can help connect with people. Make sure that you fill that out so that we can reach out to you and help you with that. Okay. Hold on just a second. I'm reading the questions. Okay. Rachel, can you answer? Housing last year had weekly mandatory COVID testing. Do you know what the plan is? I know that they need to be COVID tested to move in. What is the plan throughout the semester?
Great question. So throughout the semester, asymptomatic testing will be available to students, and symptomatic testing if you would like. It will not be mandatory throughout the semester as it was during the spring semester. We are requiring that upon move-in, as that's recommended by the CDC, as just to give us a baseline and a check as everyone enters our community to make sure that that we're having a good, healthy start to the semester. But with the availability of vaccinations and high vaccination anticipation on campus, we won't be requiring those weekly tests.
Okay, perfect. Thank you, Rachel. So far, that's all the housing questions I have. I'm going to answer some of the general questions, and then I'll get into the specific business scholars questions. And then if other housing questions come up, I'll let you know, Rachel, if that's okay. So general question, what is the best PC to buy and what software needs to be on the computer in order for us to have the best success in the business school? We get this question a lot, and as a business school, we don't require a certain kind of computer, but I will tell you, if you're planning on going into a quantitative field like finance, Quamo, accounting, the PC and the functionality on Excel in a PC is different than it is in a Mac format. So if you anticipate using a lot of Excel in quantitative classes, we recommend a PC instead of a Mac. For everything else, just whatever you're most comfortable with. And as far as software, you should have a word processing function. You should have the ability to do spreadsheets. You should have presentation ability because you'll do group projects. Probably having a way to get on some sort of a shared drive like Google Docs or like the Microsoft has sharing, all of that is helpful as well. You don't necessarily have to have it all loaded before you get there. Your professors in each class will tell you what the expectation is, and get comfortable and get used to using Canvas. That's how we manage our classes, and the syllabus for every class will be on Canvas at least by the week before school starts. And that's how the professors communicate with you. In addition, they'll have their contact information and office hours. And so make sure that you reach out to your professors in each of your classes with these questions. The syllabus should also tell you what expectations they have. If you're taking an information systems class, you might need Tableau. And so there's various different kinds of things you may need that are very class specific. Excuse me. So hopefully that helps you. There are some opportunities you get as a student for free. And so we have Adobe Creative Cloud, Microsoft Office, Zoom Pro, all of those are free. And so there's a link in the chat to get into that. So I am not sure about the cloud-based Excel product, if that has all the functionality that you will need, but because you get Microsoft Office free, your professor will make sure that they let you know what, it's just it's different for Mac. And there's a translation from Mac to Excel than there is PC. And that is where all the functionality doesn't necessarily exist if you're on a Mac and you're trying to use the Excel for Mac. Okay, and there's a free software. There's a link for the free software in the chat. Okay, there is a question about online classes. And so will there be fewer online class options starting this fall semester? You will see in the schedule what's being offered in the fall. So we've already taken that into account. So what you're signing up for, there's a format that you look at that tells you what format, whether it's in person, IBC, or online, that's already in the schedule. And so there are about 75 to 80% in-person classes. We always, moving forward, offer some online options. Not every class is available online or through IVC. And so you're opting into the modality that you want through what you sign up for. Okay, let's see. Can students access Microsoft Office for free? The answer is yes, and the link is in the chat. But for the video folks that are going to watch this later, it's at software.utah.edu/free-of-charge.php. That'll take you right to it. If you go to utah.edu, you can also search it up there, or go to software.utah.edu. You can search it there as well. Okay. Questions? Will everything be back to 100% capacity and activity? In other words, what won't be normal this fall? And I think it just, most of the things that I've seen, I know classrooms will be at full capacity. I know athletic events are at full capacity right now. I'm not sure about labs, so I can't say 100%, but I will say it will feel much, much more normal this fall than it did last fall. And that is because of the options to get vaccines and other science that has kind of helped us out. I believe there are certain buildings that might have changes or differences, and you will be informed about those, but I haven't heard of anything specifically. And I know in the business school, pretty much everything that I've seen, one difference is we are offering, like, for you to go visit your academic advisor, you have the option of going in person or going and still doing that on video for convenience, because a lot of students found the ability to do virtual appointments very convenient. So there are things that we learned through the pandemic that we will be incorporating just because students really liked that, but there's also the in-person option as well. So classes labeled Canvas are online classes or IVC classes. So that's where I would click into the description, and then it will tell you what it is. So usually when it says Canvas, then it is online, but sometimes it's IVC. The difference, as I mentioned before, between online and IVC is IVC meets during a class time, and you are using technology, but you're interacting live during the class period. Whereas online, the lectures are videotaped and you interact with that during the week. You'll have assignments that are due on certain dates between the week, so you can't wait until the end of the semester to do everything. You still engage with that every week, but there's not a set time that you have to do that. So that's the difference between the IVC and the online classes. Getting some questions about, I'm trying to do, before I do the business scholar ones. Okay, does the U accept AP credit from sub scores? I might need Tara or Kathy to help me and kind of type an answer here. It's a specific question. If you took the AP Calc BC exam, does AB subscore for the BC exam count towards credit if you did not pass the BC exam? So everyone has the opportunity to meet with your academic advisor, and you will get assigned an advisor when you go through orientation. Specific questions like that, your advisor can tell you for you. And there will be on CSI, which is how you go in and register and you look at your transcript and all of that, that will show you what's been accepted and what hasn't. So if there's an AP class that has been accepted, if you go into your transcript, once you've been through orientation, it will show you what credits that, what general credits you have, and then what general ed that fulfilled. But you can always ask your academic advisor as well. So if the person who had that question, if you want to email Tara Hardison, she is the administrative director over student services. Her email is tara.hardison, Hardison, @eccles.utah.edu, and she can answer that specific questions for you. For classes, if you are waitlisted in a class, I would try a different section and see if you can get into a different section. You won't be notified that you got into the class until there's space in that class. And so, for example, if you're waitlisted and you're like 1 or 2 on the wait list and 2 people drop next week, you'll know before the semester starts. If you're waitlisted and you're still on the wait list, we recommend that you go to that class. And there's about a 2-week period, an add drop period that there's a lot of shuffling that happens during that. But what you don't want to do is wait and join a class 2 weeks inside while it's been going 2 weeks. It's harder to catch up. And so just check it every day, but people have to drop in order for you to get added on the wait list. If you can find an open spot in another section, I would recommend that so you can get confirmed. Otherwise, you just kind of have to manage the wait lists that you're on. So there's also a question about any particular school supplies that freshmen should have. Computers are really important. Every class needs something a little bit different. So I would check into Canvas and make sure that you see for that class what is needed. One of the most important things for you is to be able to keep track of all the classes and all the homework you have. In many high schools, you get lots of updates and things like that. In college, the professors expect you to be responsible. And so they're not going to remind you or anything like that. In class, they might say we have a quiz tomorrow, but you are responsible for making sure that you get things done by the deadline. And there's not necessarily extensions on work in college, like there might be in high school. You might be able to negotiate something in high school for a late assignment. Not all professors will go for that. So whatever system you need to have to keep on top of your work, you definitely need to figure that out. So Canvas has some things built in, or there's other methods. Some people like to write it in a calendar. Just figure out what your method is, because it will be important to keep track of those types of things. The bookstore is well stocked with everything you could possibly need. So you don't have to bring everything with you from home. You can always run down to the bookstore and get what you need as well. Also, U-mail. So thank you, Tara. Really good point. We communicate with students through email. I know a lot of students like to be texted, but email is kind of the primary official means of communication, and you are all given a U-mail account. It's your university ID at utah.edu. You can forward that to different accounts if you want, but you need to check that and make sure that you know that it got forwarded to an account that you're used to checking all the time, because that's where deadlines pop up. If changes are happening, if there's something we need you to know going on campus, there's road construction or schools closed because of a snowstorm or anything like that, email, you'll need to look at your email. Once you get here, you can also sign up for text alerts and things like that, but that doesn't mean you shouldn't keep checking your email. Okay. So I think that's all the general questions. Hold on just a second and I will answer the business scholars questions. Okay. One question is, are professors allowed to require webcams in online classes? Is there an Eccles policy anywhere on this? And if so, will that change moving forward in the fall? Last year, there was not a requirement to turn on your cameras. Online classes aren't live that way, so it would only be IVC classes. I know from the professor's perspective, if you're having conversations and you're trying to get class participation, oftentimes that's easier with cameras on, but there isn't an official policy on that that I'm aware of. So with COVID, we did not require it. It could be encouraged, but it wasn't required. But I would check the class. Parking pass that's accepted in the parking lot next to, so yes, you can buy a parking pass. They're next to the Spencer Fox Eccles business building. There's a parking garage. It does require a special pass before 3 p.m. You can get that with parking services. They do give tickets. So you want to get parking kind of organized. I might have you, Rachel, talk about parking next to the housing complexes as well. After 3 p.m., a U-Pass will allow you to park in the parking complex next to the business building. But if you want to park there before then, it's called a CU, and you'll pay extra for it because of the convenience. But you can go on to, I think it's parking@utah.edu, and they'll give you all of those options. What should they do for parking near housing, Rachel?
Yeah, so 2 things I would mention. One is if you're considering whether or not you need to bring a car to campus, if you're living on campus, I would tell you that unless you have a specific need to attend a job offsite, an internship offsite, where public transportation isn't easily accessible, you really don't need to bring a car to campus. You are allowed to bring a car though, if you would like to. And if that's the case, you would need to purchase a parking permit online through commuter services to do that. And you would purchase a housing specific parking permit. They will have a list of who's living with us on campus. And so you'll be allowed to purchase a housing permit if you have a housing reservation. Parking is not guaranteed in housing lots directly outside of your residential building. So know that based on parking availability, you may need to park in a lot and walk a little bit to your residence hall or take a campus shuttle to get to your car, etc. But for the most part, especially if you're living on upper campus, parking is readily available there. On lower campus, parking near the housing buildings, again, you may need to walk a little bit to get to your hall.
Okay, and it is not true that parking is free after a certain hour in the day. Most parking is 24 hours. And so you just have to be very aware of the spots that you're parking in. So you do need a permit, but sometimes it does open up. And if you buy a CU pass, you can still park after 3 p.m. in the Eccles garage. Somebody asked about tracks. You get to ride tracks for free with your university ID. So you do not need to buy a pass for tracks. Tracks is free with your university ID. And so that's a good way to do it as well. Okay, I'm going to go on to business scholars questions right now, and then we can go back if you have any other questions after that. I don't have a hard stop at 1 o'clock, so I can keep going until all the questions are answered, but I know some other people do. So Rachel, if you have to go, we so appreciate you being here. So thank you so much. And so we'll get into business scholars. So yes, there will be passport points this semester. If you're a business scholar and you don't know what passport points are, that's okay. You will find out via orientation. Business scholars orientation, we have on Friday, August 20th. Friday, August 20th, there's an orientation. You'll be getting an email on it. You'll be meeting your ambassador that day. And so the ambassador is going to have answers to so many of your questions. And we will talk about passport points. You can ask your ambassador, or in the first 2 weeks of school, there's going to be more detail on grading. You can also go to Canvas and it will show how many passport points you need and what that is. So that's just engagement. They're the easiest points, honestly, to get in class, and it's just engagement points for you, and it's part of your grade in business scholars. Questions on enrolling for BUS $39.95. For business scholars, you will be automatically enrolled in your sections. We have 13 sections of business scholars. And so that's why we've assigned you a section and we will enroll you in that section. It usually happens pretty quickly after you go through orientation. Within a day or two of orientation, you'll get assigned your section. But if it doesn't happen, then don't worry. It's because we're figuring something out, and you will know before school starts which section you're in. If you're in section 1 through 5, that starts at 8:35 a.m. and goes to 11:35. If you're in sections 6 through 10, that starts at 9:40 and goes till 12:40. And if you're in sections 12, 13, or 14, then that starts at 9 and ends at noon. If you were paying attention, I didn't say section 11. That's our transfer scholars section, and that meets on Thursdays during spring semester. So you will be automatically enrolled in that. All you need to do is leave a space. So if you put another class during the time periods that I just told you about, then it won't let us auto enroll you. So make sure that that's open, and then it will pop up on your schedule. So the first week of class, I believe it's the Wasatch, the Uinta cohort. The Uinta cohort has our leadership retreat down at Zion National Park. And so you will leave on Thursday. We will give you an excused absence for classes that you have Thursday afternoon. So you'll leave midday on Thursday, and you'll be returning about 6 or 7 p.m. on Saturday. And so you should have already gotten a link to a survey to fill out, a travel survey that just, we do that every single time because our trips, business scholar trips, are not mandatory if you can't attend, but your fees are paying for them. So they're strongly encouraged. And so we ask you just to commit through that travel survey. We generally get you back between 6 and 7 p.m., but depending on traffic and things like that, it's not guaranteed in by then. But we finish up about noon and then feed you lunch, and then you hop on the buses and come back. So the tuition estimator on the BUS 3995 class can be a little bit confusing because it depends on what cohort of business scholars you're in. So everybody is charged for a 3 credit hour upper division class per each semester. In addition, there are fees. If you are in sections 1 through 10 or the domestic sections, it's $1,000 fee in the fall and $1,000 fee in the spring, and that helps pay for travel and our activities. If you're in the global cohort, which we call Himalaya, they meet from 9 to 12. Then your fees are $2,500 in the fall and $2,500 in the spring. You will be going on an international trip for your leadership retreat. We're going to Canada, Whistler, Canada, and we're also going to London and Paris during spring break, and that pays for the international trips. That's why the fees are higher, because the costs of traveling internationally are higher. And so that's why the cost will be the cost of a 3 credit hour upper division class plus the fees for whichever kind of cohort that you're in with business scholars. Our business scholars required to take 15 credit hours. If you have a scholarship through business scholars, yes, you need to take 15 credit hours, because that's the number that you will need to get through to graduate with 122 credit hours in 4 years. And your scholarship is only for 8 semesters. If you don't have a scholarship, then you're not required to take that, but that's what full-time equivalent is to get you through in 4 years. If you want an exception to that for some reason, you can talk to your business scholars director to get an exception if the 15 credit hours isn't working for you for some reason. Okay. University ID, that will, so the question is, how do we get our university ID? They will tell you that through orientation. You can sign up for it online and then pick it up when you come to campus. So the physical ID, some people have an ID that is online. The union is where you go to actually pick up the physical ID. So there's kind of a desk there in the union, and you can go there to get one printed up for you. Okay. So when do business scholars find out what cohort or section they are in? And Sheena, I believe Elena is on. If you can have her come be a panelist, I'm going to have Elena answer a couple of these timing questions. But business scholars will find out their cohort or the section that they're in when you've gone through registration, orientation, and check your email, because we've already informed you in via email. And so if you're looking and you can't find it, then you can email us. There is not flexibility to change sections. There's lots of things that go into it, people's schedules, and then we try to make sure that we have a breadth of people. We try to give you an opportunity to meet a lot of different people. So we mix in-state, out-of-state, people from different high schools. And so if you want to change to a different section, that's just not something. They're all taught at roughly the same time. And so there's not a voluntary sign up for different sections. Elena, do you want to add anything on the where the section number is, or anything about timing that I haven't covered?
Yeah, can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay, sorry, I am actually driving, but listening in, so it's harder for me to type. But yes, every business scholar should have received an email that says their section number and their travel date. If you've not seen that, it should be in your email. I'm coming up to a red light, so in the chat, I will put in my email address.
Actually, Sarah has already done that. So Elena,
okay,
Sarah's email is in there.
Okay, perfect. So you can reach out to Sarah and we'll resend that email. Like Andrea said, it's very hard to change sections. If there's a major extenuating circumstance, you can reach out to me and we can look into that, but sections are already set and that information has been sent to you in your email.
Okay. And if you haven't signed up for business scholars, but would like to sign up for business scholars, we are still accepting applications. So if you go on to eccles.utah.edu and go to business scholars, and I'm going to ask if Emily can put the link in the chat of signing up for business scholars, then you can go in there and you can fill out an application. You need to write an essay and give us your university ID, and then we can process that. So we've already put a link to your U card. It's ucard.utah.edu, and then there's also there's a couple of things, Sheena, there's a couple answers that just went to all panelists. Can you copy and paste that to all panelists plus attendees so they can see those? There's a couple links that way. Thank you. And there's a question about the global scholars. So the global scholars is traveling to Canada. Canada just came out this week. They're opening their borders only to vaccinated folks. So if you want to go on that Canada trip, the state or the country of Canada is requiring a vaccination. We are not requiring you to go to Canada. There is an option if you want to go to the leadership retreat in the for Zion, down at Zion National Park. If you don't want to get vaccinated, just reach out and let us know. But there is a high likelihood in the spring when we go to London and Paris that there might be a country requirement of some sort. So we have to go by what the country says as far as travel. And so we're keeping an eye on all of those things. And Canada has said that vaccinations are required. Okay. If the students are in their second year of business scholars, so last year we were unable to travel because of the pandemic, and we did refund the fees associated with that. What we've done is we've added a bunch of trips through Eccles Global for students who are interested in the past who weren't able to travel. And so you can sign up for one of those Eccles Global trips. There's a week for fall break. There's one during winter break in January, and then there's several during spring break. There's going to be several the first week of May, and then there's some Eccles Global summer opportunities. There's also opportunities to travel through the Benyon Center if you don't want to do you don't want to pay for international. There's some domestic travel that's available as well. But we couldn't take, because of just schedules and the classes that people are in. Most of the folks who were in business scholars last year will have business fundamentals. And so we had to do travel during the breaks. And so we've just made extra trips available for students who were not able to go in the past. For those of you who are interested in hearing more about business scholars, the benefits of joining business scholars, if you can email Sarah at sarah.crasshilla, CRASSHILLA at eccles.utah.edu, she can take you through all of that and give you, they can take you on a tour, they can take you through everything about the program. Okay, there's a question about Goff Trailblazers program costing anything extra like Business Scholars does. You will see, if you've signed up for the Goff Trailblazers, you will see in the course what the fees are. So go back to your schedule and it will tell you what the fees are. And then you'll know for that class what those fees are. It depends on which Goff it is. They've got some scholarships and some things like that. So you'll have to check with that particular class. Okay, I'm just going to look really quickly to see if there's other questions. Okay, you already, for business scholars, you already should have received an email with your section number and travel dates in it. So check your email again. If you plan to minor in a different subject than the business school, when should I meet with an advisor for that minor, or should the advisor that has been assigned with me help you with that? What you should do is go to your current advisor, and then they will let you know the best time to take minor classes, and they will refer you to another advisor if you need another advisor for your minor.
Andrea, there's a question about pre-business that might be worth answering for everybody, just why they're listed as pre-business.
Okay, so pre-business is how you're listed until you get into B Corps. And then once you go through B Corps, then you'll have the opportunity to choose a major, and then you'll shift from pre-business to that major. You'll need to apply to that major. And so, so there's a process that your academic advisor can take you through for that, getting assigned to that major. But the steps are, you're going to be pre-business through business fundamentals, which is your third semester. Then you'll apply for upper division. And then you'll take some bridge courses, some B Corps bridge courses, and then you'll apply to your major. So that's kind of the sequence of things, and your academic advisor can walk you through all of that. Let's see. There are weekend trips involved in business scholars. There's 2 of them, one of them in the fall and one of them in the spring. You leave on Thursday, you get back on Saturday. And then Friday classes are also part of that. So if you're not sure from a schedule standpoint, reach out to the Business Scholars team. And then sarah.crashilla at eccles.utah.edu, and they can just tell you and kind of show you the schedule, and then you can decide if you have time for that. Let's see. Okay. There's links in the chat to applications. There's phone numbers. There's email addresses. Let's see. You don't need to be a business scholar to be pre-business, but we just don't know that you're interested in business until you sign up and start taking the business core. So once you start taking your business core classes, then you will be shifted into pre-business. But we just don't know. We know that the business scholars are interested in business, so they get done in advance. And if you're not a business scholar, we don't know until you start your classes in B Core, and then you'll be shifted at that point. Okay. The spring schedule gets posted. I know registration starts in November. I believe it gets posted at the early part of October. Can someone check me on that? Who's on here? It's usually a month or so before you start registering, and then the registration, seniors go first, and then juniors, and then sophomores. So if you're an incoming freshman, your registration date's going to be a little bit later. You also need to make sure you clear all your registration holds, and CIS will tell you what those are. So your transcripts that you need verified, your mandatory advising that you need the first semester, all of those kinds of things will be things that you need to look at, that you need to look on your holds for. Your academic advisor can help you on all of this. If you have a hold, you can go to your academic advisor and they can tell you what that holds for and kind of help you through that. In addition, there's open advising appointments with peer advisors that start once school starts. So you can also kind of check in, and some of the questions like that are easily answered, you don't need an appointment for. You can ask a peer advisor, or they also do frequently asked questions on the Eccles page, has answers to some of those things as well. So currently, the question is, are there any organized domestic trips available for fall break? Either through the business school or through the U. Usually the Benyon Center has domestic trips for all of the breaks. So I would check the Benyon Center. That's a place on campus that you can do community service and volunteering and those types of things. So they will have some. Business Scholars doesn't have any domestic ones right now. We have international through Eccles Global. And then learning abroad, I think most of those are international trips as well. So if you want domestic trips, then I would check with the Benyon Center. And then when do pre-business majors do general ed? So I can answer that really quick. So there are some sequencing in the B Core classes that look like we're front loading you, and in truth we kind of are, and that's just so that you can get the right sequence of classes. So the first semester there's 6 credit hours worth of B Core classes, and then you'll take one of the 3 credit hour either BUS 1050, 1051 or BUS 2010. That's pre-business, those are required. Some and then in addition, we want you to take your English and your math, which are gen ed classes. In the spring, there's only 1 3 credit hour B Core class, and then the other, whether it's BUS 2010 or BUS 1050 or 1051. So there's an opportunity for you to take gen ed classes spring of your freshman year. fall of your sophomore year, you're going to be taking the Business Fundamentals B core class that's 12 credit hours. So you can take one class then. Then there's going to be times opening up from spring of your sophomore year through the rest of your major that you can slot in general education classes. The thing about gen ed classes is there's lots and lots of options, so they fit in well with your schedule. So everything we need that builds, to prepare you for your major, that sequences, we ask you to do in order. And that's why it seems like you have to wait to do gen ed classes. This is just a way that we help you gain a body of knowledge in business before you get going. Summer semesters are always available for you out-of-state students. Summer semesters are always in-state tuition. And so that's a cost-effective way if you want to get at those a lot earlier as well. And it depends on how many credit hours you want to take also. There is plenty of time to get in your major requirements and gen ed while you go through your 4 years, and your academic advisor can help you and suggest times and ways to do that. Okay, and then your advisor for business scholars will advise you to take either BUS 2010 or BUS 1051 in the fall and take the other one in the spring. And so that's just for availability of classes, how we like to sequence things. So your academic advisor can help you decide what sequence you want for that. So spring, thank you. Spring class schedules open Monday, September 27th, and registration starts on November 4th. So thank you for that. All right, I think we've answered all of the questions. I'm sorry I went over, but these are really important questions that are on your mind. And so I wanted to make sure that we had a chance to answer them. We will be posting this on eccles.utah.edu, and we will also be taking the frequently asked questions and putting them up on the site as well, so you can go back for reference. So thank you. Enjoy the rest of your summer. We're really, really excited to have you here. And don't forget, if you need help with housing or if you have any other questions, all of those links will also be available on the frequently asked question site. So you can reach into that to get all your questions answered. So thank you. We're excited to have you here. We weren't planning on doing one of these in August because there is a lot of orientation things that we do in August. So if you do have any questions, there is a place to go on eccles.utah.edu where you can type in your question. And so that's like a live chat that will, you'll get them answered within a day or two if you go into that chat. So there's other ways that you can get your question answered as well. So lots of great resources on eccles.utah.edu. So thanks so much for your time. Really appreciate it. And please feel free to reach out if you do have other questions. Thanks. We're very, very excited to see you in the fall, and we're looking forward to meeting you. Thanks, everyone.